Hi, I'm Maggie Weldon from maggiescrochet.com, and I'm here today to introduce you to a new series of stitch videos that we're going to do, and to Christina,
hey guys,
who is an avid crocheter, knitter, and she's done a lot of different needlecrafts.
I love experimenting. I mean, gosh, I've probably crocheted since I was probably about 8 or 9 years old. I think my grandmother taught me how. So yeah, I mean, I love pretty much any sort of crafting, and I'm always looking forward to learning something new.
So I'm enlisting Christina's help and to get a lot of instructional videos out on YouTube. And if you are looking for any type of help on different stitches, just let us know in the comments. And the different stitches that we're going to show you are like the ripple stitch, and that comes in several variations. There's ripple stitches with single crochets, with waves, and with double crochets stitches. There's all kinds of variations. Some have lace worked into them. And then there's the popular basket weave stitch, and that comes in several different variations. And then there's just regular like V-stitch or a netting stitch or a little seed stitch, which is like a single crochet chain one, and then you go back and single crochet in the chain one space. And then there's the more complicated stitches like the Solomon's knot it's called, or lover's knot this one's called. And what else is there?
Oh gosh. Cluster stitches, wave stitches, shell stitches.
And there's like broomstick lace.
Broomstick lace.
And hairpin lace. There's all kinds of stuff. So maybe we'll split those up too. We'll do the different ones that require like the stuff to go along with them,
right,
like the hairpin lace loom or whatever, you know. So maybe. So anyway, I want you to subscribe to the channel, and you want to make sure that you don't miss any of these great stitches that we're going to show you. And I look forward to Christina helping us.
I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be
I've already
fun.
seen her crocheting, and that's Maggie approved. So thank you for joining us, and be sure to subscribe to the channel.
Hey everybody, it's Christina from maggiescrochet.com, and today I'm going to show you how to do the polka dot stitch pattern. This is a little more complicated than some of the other stitches we've done, just because it's got such a large repeat. There's 8 different rows to keep up with, so it's really not that more complicated, except it's just a little bit more to keep track of. You're going to need at least 2 colors of yarn. You've got your background color, which in my case here is pink, and then the dot color, which I've used yellow for all of my dots. If you wanted to, you could do, you know, this row of dots one color, this row of dots different color, and so on. That could be a great way to use up some scrap yarn. Use a neutral color for your back, maybe white, and then have all different colored polka dots. So lots of different color opportunities there. You can work this with pretty much any yarn. Just use whatever hook is recommended for the yarn that you're using. So today I'm just using a worsted weight yarn, so I've got an H hook that I'm using with that. To start, you want to chain a multiple of 10 plus 3. So I've got 23 stitches here. That's really about the minimum you want to use for this pattern. If you did less than that, which would be 13, then you'd only have that much. So you'd only have 1 polka dot or 2 half polka dots per row. So this example was made with 23 chain stitches as a starter. So if that gives you an idea of the size it'll end up being. So once you have your chain of 23, you're going to work, skip the chain closest to your hook, and in the next 2 chain stitches, work a single crochet. Alright, so I've got 2 single crochets right there to start with. You're going to skip the next 3 chain stitches. So let's see, skip 1, 2, 3, and in this one you're going to do 7 double crochets. Now, Normally when I work into a chain, I work only into one loop, like that. For this, I would recommend that you work into 2 loops, and I'll show you why. I'll do this one just working through the 1 loop of my chain foundation, and then I'll do the second one working into 2 loops and show you the difference and talk about why I would recommend that. So there's 3, 4, 6, and this one should be 7. Perfect. All right, skip the next 3 chain stitches, so skip 1, 2, and 3, and then single crochet in the next 3. So we skip those 3, starting with this one, we'll do 3 single crochets. All right, and then we're gonna start our repeat again. So skip 3, 1, 2, 3, 7 double crochets in the next one. So on this one, I'll go through 2 loops of the chain. See, I've got 2 there in my hook. And this way you can see the difference. Like I said, normally I'll only work through 1. It's just because I'm working so many stitches into this foundation chain that I think working into 2 is a little bit better in this case. Especially since working into your chain is always a little tricky anyway. You can also choose to you could do your first row just single crochets. That gives you kind of a base to start with. Will keep you from fighting with the chain like you're seeing me do a little bit right now. Let's see, how many is that? That's 6. So you can choose to do an entire row of single crochets, and what you would do for that is just single crochet into the second chain from your hook, go all the way across. So then you would have 1 less single crochets than you chained. So in this case, if I did that, I'd have 22 single crochets across, and then I could start my pattern. So as you look here, here's the one where I only worked into 1 loop. Here's the one where I worked into 2 loops. And I just think this one looks a little bit cleaner, you know, a little bit more kept together. This one's a little frazzled, a little wild. So I would recommend working into 2 loops of your chain stitch. You can see the 1 loop that I didn't work into right there at the bottom. So once you do that, then again we're skipping our next 3 single crochets, and when you come to the end of your row, there'll be just 2 chains left. So just do 2 single crochets right there. All right, so that is row 1. Next, you're going to skip to whatever color you want your polka dots to be. I'm going to do this cream color, I think, for my polka dots. So I like to change color by, on the row before, my last stitch was a single crochet. So, you know, I've got my 2 loops on the hook. Next step to finish it would be to pull this loop through. But if you take your new color, make a slip knot, put it on your hook, and pull that through instead, that is the cleanest way I know to change colors. So I would recommend that you do that. And then just, you know, kind of tighten that there. You don't need to cut your yarn for your background color, because I do recommend, I mean, you can change the dot color, but I would keep the background color the same all the way through. So just leave that hanging, we'll come back to that. For row 2, we'll chain 2 and turn. And then you're going to work a half cluster. A half cluster goes like this. It's basically 4 incomplete double crochets. Let me show you what I mean. Yarn over, insert down into the first stitch, pull a loop through, pull through the first 2 stitches. Now we're going to move on. We're going to leave those there, and we're going to go ahead and do the next stitch. Yarn over, insert into the next stitch, pull a loop through, pull through just 2 loops. You should have 3 on your hoop at this, on your needle at this point. Yarn over, insert, pull a loop through, pull through 2, and we'll do that one more time. So at this point you should have 5 loops on your hook like I do right there. So then pull up a loop and just go ahead and pull it through all of them. That's what we're calling a half cluster, okay? Then chain 3. You're going to single crochet in the next 3 stitches, all right? So these are some of the doubles that we did on the previous row. And not including this one, we're going to skip that one we just worked into. So starting with the next one, work 3 single crochets. Okay, then we're going to chain 3. And this time we're going to do a full cluster. It's the same thing as the half cluster, we're just doing it over more stitches. So we're going to do a total of 7. Last time we did 4, this time we'll do 7. So yarn over, insert into the next stitch, pull through. Looks kind of like we're doing a double crochet, but we're going to stop right there. Here's the second one. Third. Fourth. Fifth, sixth, and after you do the 7th one, then you should have 8 loops on your hook, which I do. For this reason, I recommend that you use a skinny hook like this. If you use one of the ones that has the nice big padding, normally those are great, but your loops will be all squished together. It'll be a little harder to see them. So I would recommend just a regular straight hook for this project. So when you've got 8 loops, yarn over, grab a loop, and pull it through all 8 of those. Okay, that is a cluster. Then you can chain 3. And single crochet in the next 3 stitches. And when you get to the end, you should have 4 stitches left that you could work into. We're going to do another one of the half clusters, just like we did at the beginning. So yarn over, insert into the stitch, pull through 2 loops only, yarn over into the next stitch, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, so again when you finish you have 5 loops, and then we'll drop a loop and pull through all 5 of those at once. Alright, so this is what you look like at the end of row 2. Row 3 can be the other half of our dot. Chain 2 and turn. In the first stitch, and then by that we actually mean this little hole right here. Sometimes I'll call this the eye of the cluster. It's the little hole that all the rest of them seem to be worked into. See, there's the eye of our full-size cluster. So in that eye, you're going to work 4 double crochets. All right. In these 3 single crochets, we're going to do a single crochet in each one of those. And then in the middle of our cluster, again here in the little eye, we'll do 7 double crochets. This is the other half of our dot. see, that should be 5. So 6 and 7 will be our last one. It might start to get a little tight, but they will all fit, I promise. All right, once you've done that, we're always skipping this chain that we did on the last row. We're gonna do single crochet in each of these 3 single crochets. And then our last step for this row is to do 4 double crochets right there in the eye. All right, so there we are. That's the end of row 3. You can see we have our first dot formed and we got our little half dots on the side there. Now we're going to go back to our background color. And remember, we didn't cut that off, so it's just right here. We'll just bring that behind and pull it up. Again, the easiest way to change color, let's see. This is my, let's see, there's 3 double crochets, 1 more double crochet. For double crochet changing color, you pull through until you've got the last 2 loops, pull up your new color, and pull that through instead of your old color. Make sure you don't, if you try to pull it real tight, then you'll mess up your edge. So make sure you leave it nice and loose. Pull this one, you can pull your dot color a little tighter. So if you were going to use a different color for your next set of dots, you could go ahead and cut this and finish it off. I'm going to use the same color, so I'll just leave it hanging for now, and we'll come back to that in a little bit. All right, so on to row 4. Chain 1 and turn. In these first 2 stitches, we'll do a single crochet. And then we're going to start working the following pattern. We'll chain 3. And we're going to work a cluster in this. See how we kind of create lots of little mountains and valleys? We're going to do a cluster here in this little valley. So again, that's the one where we start out like a double crochet. We pull through the first 2 loops, but then we stop and we move on to the next one. So we'll do this 7 times. When we're done, we'll have 8 loops on our hook. So yep, there's all 8 loops. Yarn over, draw through all 8 of them. There we go. Once you've done that, go ahead and chain 3. Then in these next 3 stitches, in the top of our dot, you're going to do 3 single crochets, 1 in each stitch. And then we'll do another cluster. So we'll chain 3 and do a cluster right here, just like we just did. So 1 more. Got 8 loops on my hook, and we'll go ahead and pull through all of them and then chain 3 to end. And then we're at the end of our row, so we'll just do 2 single crochets to finish the row. All right, that's the end of row 4. We've got 1 row of dots with a row of background color on each side of it. So next row is also background color. For this row, you want to chain 2 and turn. Get my yarn a little bit twisted up. There we go, that's better. In this first stitch here, we're going to do 4 double crochets. 2, 3, and there is 4. Now you're going to skip the next stitch, and then when you're looking at your chain stitch here, see, we remember the chain 3 that we did? Skip the first 2, but in the third one you're going to work a single crochet. Oh, no, that was actually the wrong stitch. I went one too far. And you know what? Sometimes that happens, but you know what? It comes out really easily. Alright, so in that third stitch, 1, 2, 3, go right down in the middle of that stitch. There we go. 1 single crochet there. Then do 1 single crochet in the eye of your cluster. And then remember, we've got a chain 3 on this side as well. So in the one closest to where you're working, just work 1 single crochet in that one chain. Alright, and then we're going to skip the rest of the chain. We'll do, let's see, so you skip the rest of that chain, skip this single crochet, and then in this one, which, see, there's our 3 single crochets. So in the middle one, we're going to work 7 double crochets. For those of you that are familiar with the Catherine's wheel stitch, this is where it really starts to get different, where we're trying to make more of a ripple with our background color. So if this row throws you off, you know, just rewind, watch this part of the video again, because it's the same stitches, you're just working into different ones than, like I said, than you would be for the Catherine's wheel stitch. See, that's 6. So there is 7. Okay? So then same thing again. Skip the single crochet. Look at your chain 3 there, work a single crochet into the third one only. And yeah, I tend to make my chains a little too tight, so hopefully you'll have an easier time than that. And then work a single crochet into the eye of the cluster. And then here at the end, we've got another chain 3, single crochet into the one closest to your hook. And then we'll skip the next 2. And then we're at the end of our row. So in these last, in this last double crochet, this last single crochet here, rather, sorry, we're going to do, go ahead and do our 4 double crochets. Sometimes I try to go too fast. 3 and 4. So that's the end of row 5. Do you want to go back over to your dot color now, whether that's the same dot color you already used or if you're adding a different one? So I'm going to undo the last bit of my stitch there, pull up my off-white, my dot color, and pull that through the last 2 loops of the 5th row. Now you can also, you know, cut those off and trim them in if you want. I would recommend doing a border on this pattern anyway, just because the edge is a little uneven. So for me, it's no big deal to leave them there, and I can just work over them later. For row 6, chain 1 and turn. In your first 2 stitches here, do a single crochet each. Alright, so after you've done your 2 single crochets, you want to chain 3 before you start your cluster. That's going to let the center of the cluster just float nicely there in the middle. The way I just did it, it would have been kind of pulled over to the side and would not have been, it wouldn't have been centered. All right, so now we're right. Pull through all 8 of those loops, and then we chain 3 also at the end of it. See how we're in the middle here? If we tried to work directly into that stitch, we can kind of gather and bump up, and we don't want that. So that's why the chain 3s are important. So once you've done that chain 3, come over to these 3 stitches. You're going to work a single crochet in each of those. Hopefully some of this is starting to sound familiar. And next, if you guessed another cluster, you would be right. So we're going to start that with the chain 3 and then work another cluster stitch here. And yeah, your yarn will probably give you a hard time at some point. It happens to everybody. One more. There we go, 8 stitches, 8 loops rather, pull them all through, and chain 3. When you get to the end of the row, you'll just have those 2 stitches left, so a single crochet in each of them. And then to the top of the dots, we'll chain 1 and turn. This is row 7 now. And those first 2 single crochets we just did, just a single crochet each. And then in the eye of our cluster right there, 7 double crochets. So the middle of this row will be worked just like the last dot, or the middle of the last dot row. It's just a matter of the beginning and the end of them are a little bit different, so that we end up with offset dots. Where was I? That's 4, 5, 6, and 7 is our last one. Oops. All right, skip the chain there, work a single crochet into each of these 3 single crochets. Skip that chain there, and 7 double crochets into the eye of the cluster from the last row. What is wrong with this yarn to do? There we go. All right, so where are we? There's 5, 6, and 7 is our last one. And then once you reach the end of the row, again, you'll have those 2 single crochets, and just do a single crochet on top of each of those. All right, now we're ready to go back to our background color, so I'm not going to finish the single crochet. I'm going to pull up my background color and pull it through those 2 loops as well. All right, so that's the end of row 7. Row 8 is the last row of our repeat. After this, you would go back and start row 1 again. So chain 2 and turn. And we're going to work a half cluster. So remember, half cluster is like a full cluster, but we're only doing it across 4 stitches, these first 4 right here. And after you've done that, you should have 5 loops. Go ahead and pull through all of those loops and chain 3. Single crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. And then here now we've got a whole, see, we kind of had a half valley there on the side. Here we've got a whole valley, so we'll work a full cluster here. Oh, but first we got chain 3. Do you ever feel like sometimes you just go on autopilot? I do sometimes. Alright, so now we've got our 8 loops on our hook again. Pull through all 8 of those. Work your 3 chain stitches so we can reach over here and do our 3 singles. And then again, when you reach the end of the row, you've got 4 stitches left, so we're going to do another half cluster. So there you go. Like I said, this is just a little more complicated than some of the other stitches we've done, just because it's got 8 rows, all of which are a little bit different before you can repeat. So, you know, at this point I can go back to row 1 and keep on going. But me, I'll probably just clip my ends and weave them in. You do probably want to do it, like I said, see, here's an edge. You probably are going to want to put some sort of border on it. It can be something as simple as just single crochets all the way around, just to kind of even that up a little bit. And then of course on this end, you know, I've got my carryover strands from row to row. So there you go, that's the polka dot stitch, a variation of the Catherine wheel stitch. If you've got any questions, please leave them in the comments below, and you'll find the links in the description for everything you need for this project. Thanks so much, y'all have a great day.
So I'm going from this side to that side, and I'm going to pick up my yarn and draw that up and then finish my double crochet like. So if you do, let's say I've seen scarves made with only pulling 5 loops through, and they look amazing. They're really cute. They come out